But if you take Sri Lanka, our fashion shows is just they portray their collections. That's it,
Okay.
right? But few of them now the market is catching up, and few of them they are going internationally as well. For an example, during the Colombo Fashion Week, there were like many Sri Lankan designers, and there was a very young designer. She was only 17 years old. She portrayed her collections, and Katie Brown, that is Kanchana, she showed her collections, and she was selected to go and present her design in Moscow Fashion Week,
Okay.
which was a great achievement.
Okay.
So not only even again Kanchana and Mrs. Yoland, they were able to show their collections during the IFA Fashion Extravaganza because their designs were identified, internationally. So we can't exactly say there's no young designers coming in. There are plenty because there are so much of schools that have been opened recently. AOD, SLEC, then you have University of Moratuwa is offering fashion designing courses. So as I told you recently, we did a show that is the Chocolate Mother and Daughter fashion show. So in that, all the contestants were like youngsters. Maybe they're like below 21. All of them. Fabulous collections they have showed. But the thing is, in Sri Lanka, where the people, the mindset is like they don't want it just to go only for the brand,
Okay.
right? So as you said, it doesn't say whether, the price tag doesn't say like it's 26,000 or 25,000. So that mindset in people is not being, molded, I would say, to go into that kind of fashion brands. But
Prasanna,
still-
let's
Yeah.
discuss this on right after this very short break.
Sure.
Welcome back. You're watching iBorn Sri Lanka on a beautiful Thursday morning. Thank you for joining me. I'm Krisanta. And once again with my guest this morning, Mr. Padmanathan Prasanna, who is a fashion journalist and also into event management. Prasanna, we were talking about how much are we willing to spend for a branded product in Sri Lanka? You were explaining that just before we went into the break. Thereafter, now as you mentioned earlier on, you were talking about the fashion week which was there and many up and coming talent. At the end of the day, Prasanna, where does it all end? How much recognition have these people got? And at the end of the day, the effort, the time and they use, how well is it exploited in Sri Lanka? And also, could you also talk about the models who are doing internationally pretty well? And unfortunately, none of us seem to know about them. I'm sure that there are models. There's a guy who's modeling for an international, probably the man of the year or something like that. So things like that. But it's very seldom we hear people like that. And having said that, promote these people in Sri Lanka. Is there anything being done about it, Prasanna?
Well, that is really a sad story. Because our models and our designers, internationally they go and they present their work and they get so much of recognition over there. But when it comes to Sri Lanka, it's really lacking over here. Now, we have so much of international achievement which was not exposed in Sri Lanka. For an example, in 2007, Nadika Pereira, she's one of the top models over here. She went to Spain to compete in this international best female model world. And she was the winner with 4 mini titles. So in an international pageant, it's like I would say there was around 46 to 47 countries who compete in this pageant, and she was the winner. So how many people knew about this in Sri Lanka? No one knew, because that exposure that has been not given to that particular person. And last year in 2009, Hemal Ranasinghe, he went to this same pageant in Spain, the international best male model world, and he was the winner out of 42 countries, where Portugal came second and Mexico came third.
Okay.
So what is the recognition that you get over here? No, he was not recognized. Fallon Ranasinghe, she won in 2008. She was the first runners-up in the pageant. So our people, our own models go internationally, they win pageants, but the recognition is not being given over here. And as I said, designers, most of the designers, they go internationally, they do shows, and Katie Brown, Kanchana, she was able to show her collections in Moscow Fashion Week, but I don't see any publicity has been given. On top of everything, last year, Miss Sri Lanka for Miss World, Gamya Vijayadasa, she a super personality. She went and competed in Miss World pageant, and she was ranked 22. And for the first time in the Miss World history, Sri Lanka was able to do a final dance. She was able to perform an item in the final event. So those are real big achievements. So I would say, if we recognize these talents and if we just give them publicity, of course they can do well internationally as well. One good example, Jacqueline. She was a former Miss Sri Lanka. Now she's really doing well in India. Signed up for a new movie, 2 new movies as well. So there are so much of potential like that we have, but we should uplift them and we should bring them up.
Prasanna, talking about Jacqueline, now this was international honor that she brought into the country, and her identity, the way she poses herself as a typical Sri Lankan, bringing that honor to Sri Lanka is something that probably the first time. Well, of course, after Mr. Rosie Senanayake won the title of and things like that. So. Now, even at the IFA, which was held at the BMICH, the first leg of it, well, I was not there for the first half of the show, but I don't know whether I missed. But the second half of the show, it was all Indian models, and the designer that they had, it was pieces of saris attached together, and it was a beautiful creation. I don't know, I don't recall what it's called, but. I'm sure Sri Lankans, with all due respect, are much more creative and things like that. Having said that, also, why was it something that was decided by the committee not to have many Sri Lankan models for the IFA? Am I right? Or
well, not exactly.
Okay.
There were plenty of Sri Lankan models being taken as well. To the IFA, that fashion extravaganza, and they have given equal chances to 2 Sri Lankan designers, that is Yolanda Aluvihara and Katie Brown, and 2 Indian designers. So, but they were the domination by the Indian models because they have organized it, but still the Sri Lankan models also been given chance to show their creations and the talent.
Right. Talking once again on the designer, how possible is it? Now, for Sri Lanka, from what I know, the Hamidias, the signature collection, is something that, okay, it has come to a particular stage and it has created a brand image. How difficult is this for a young up-and-coming designer to bring a label into that, at least as far as where Hamidia has gone?
Yeah, it's, I would say it's not that easy because when you get into the industry, the recognition you get is not that big because if you take the abroad foreign magazines and the media, they give a special segment or they concentrate more onto fashion as well, but over here it's not like that. So it's their own effort where they have to spend. Of course, you cannot advertise, or you cannot make other people to recognize your brand without spending money. So you have to put your collections into fashion shows, and then you have to make sure your label is, it's gonna go in publications, maybe a TV interview, things like that. So it's not easy. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes some time to, get your brand to the consumer. So it's not an easy task.
Prasanna, how challenging is it for people like you in the fashion world, especially for designers, with a culture of, with the preserved culture of Sri Lanka, having drop-down jeans and half of your undergarments are exposed, having guys wearing pink belts, earrings and things like that, pink sneakers, things like that. How far do you think this is going to be from Sri Lanka in time to come?
Well, that maybe because we have been influenced by the Western culture.
Okay.
So the youngsters, that happens. you can't say a particular reason for it,